Last week we learned about the staff. We learned that it has 5 lines and 4 spaces. We also learned that there is a treble clef staff and also a bass clef staff. Now, there's something else, and it's called a grand staff. Looks something like this. So, when the treble staff and the bass staff are connected by a line and also connected by a bracket, that makes a grand staff. And it's as easy as that. So now that you know what a grand staff is, we can move on to learn about ledger lines. Ledger lines are just short lines that are added to the note that are too high or too low to be on the staff. So, for example, if I draw a bass staff, notes that float up here, something that's too high, or a note that's too low. These lines that you see here are called ledger lines. So let's take a closer look. I'm going to bring up a keyboard, and in this keyboard we're going to label this note, which is middle C, and the notes next to it, B and D. Now I'm going to bring up this staff here. And I'm going to draw a bass clef in it. And I'm going to draw the notes B, C, and D. Now I'm going to draw a treble clef staff, and I'm going to draw that middle C, that B, and that D. So they look very different, but they're actually the same notes on the piano. So if we draw these two on a grand staff, it would look something like this. B, C, D, and the same B, but in the bass clef. The C is obviously the same, and the D would look like this for the bass clef note. So, they look different, but they're the same on the piano. So I'd stop here and I'm going to ask you to, 1, draw a couple grand staffs. So, something like this. 2, 3, 4, 5, connect it with a line, and then a bracket, the clefs, and you can do that 2 or 3 times, just to remember. The second thing I'd get you to do is draw a couple middle note middle notes with ledger lines. So maybe draw B's, C's, and D's. After you've done those exercises, we'll learn about more ledger lines, but this time, instead of middle notes, we'll learn about the low and high notes. So, for a treble clef, there may be notes that are way too high. So there's a G, that's a really high A, that's a really high B, and that's an extra high C. So those notes are too high to fit on a staff, so that's why they need ledger lines. The same for the bass clef. There are notes that are lower than the F. So we have the F, an E, and if we keep going down, we get a D and a low C. So, if I just bring up a big keyboard here, you can see what I'm talking about. The notes that I just drew for the right hand can be found right here. A, B, and C. Do you see how far it is from middle C? Those are really high notes. The same for the left. The E, the D, and the C are really, really low down here. Really far from middle C again. So you can have ledger notes that are high can have ledger notes that are low, and then right here you can have ledger notes that are in the middle. And that's it. So let's do a couple exercises. So the first exercise here asks, draw a treble clef and name the notes. So draw a treble clef here, and I'll name a couple. So this one is, well, D is here, so that one is C. And this one, G is here, and the next note is A, and then that note, which is a B. And down here, the second exercise is asking for bass clef. So this is B, middle C. And let's try this one here. So we'll go from here, F, E, D, and then comes this, which is another C. But this is the low C.